Welcome back. As you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy here for the Daily Blob, where you say, if you think fiat currency is bad, have you seen the stock market? So this is interesting. Talking about Elon Musk again, because Elon Musk keeps doing interesting things. We will find out where these interesting things go. And one of the things I've been bringing up lately is this whole question about what the value proposition is for Elon Musk's individual companies, right? So I have talked with people. I've talked with people in the real world, and they say why they invest in Tesla, why they have purchased shares of Tesla is really to invest in Elon Musk. And one of the things I try to explain to people is that's not really how this whole thing works. And it's been getting interesting as Elon Musk spins up more and more companies. And then those different companies start interacting with each other, right? So I talk about Tesla. So I own a Tesla Model Y, which I find to be a pretty piss poor vehicle. Thankfully, my wife has agreed to get rid of the Model Y, and wait for it, we are going to be buying another Ford plug-in Escape because it's actually a good car. Ford is built for me. Tesla is built for Elon Musk. And you probably can't even argue about that one either, right? But anyways, one of the things that comes up with this whole Tesla deal is I talk about the electric cars and I talk about Tesla, and people say, Eli, so Eli's a moron. Eli's a moron. He thinks Tesla is a car company. Yes. Anyways, so Tesla is not a car company. It's a robotics and maybe energy company, I guess. Nobody can really explain to me what Tesla is. It's just not a car company. If you call it a car company, you're wrong. Anyways, but the curious thing is if you look at Elon Musk, you look at the things that Elon Musk has said, he has said that they need to have full autonomous driving for the Tesla vehicles, or Tesla is worthless. And he said the Optimus robot, the humanoid robots that they're building, that is going to be what's going to take Tesla to a $20 trillion valuation, right? So the big thing to understand here, whatever the hell company Tesla is the idea that the real value is in the artificial intelligence, not in the hardware. And so that is what it is. That is what it is. But the weird part is, right, Musk then spins up an entirely different corporation called xAI. And so xAI is actually an artificial intelligence company. It's a $100 billion valued artificial intelligence corporation that is entirely separate from Tesla. If you buy a share of Tesla, you do not own any equity in xAI. They're entirely different. So then you might be saying, well, that's kind of weird. So he's basically saying, intelligence and artificial intelligence, that is the thing that actually makes Tesla worth anything, and now he's spinning up an entirely different company to do AI. Isn't there some conflict of interest there? Oh, you think that's a conflict of interest? No. At this point in time, they're actually now integrating Grok, so Grok is their model, right, into Teslas. So Teslas are now running xAI's Grok, and it said that xAI will be the brains of the Tesla Optimus robots. So the value in Tesla is not cars and hardware, it's artificial intelligence. And he's basically setting everything up so that Tesla is actually licensing that artificial intelligence from xAI. At which point you're like, wow. If Tesla actually had a free and non-captured board, I'm sure things might be slightly different right now. But that's the weird thing we get into with this all this stuff going on with Elon Musk, and you start talking about valuations, like with X, with Twitter, right? So I even forgot about this. So much stuff is going on, right? So Elon Musk buys Twitter. Twitter is a $44 billion company when he buys it. He gets a bunch of financing, all of that kind of stuff. Within a year and a half, 2 years or whatever, basically, Fidelity? Is it Fidelity? Anyways, one of these financial companies, one of these money companies that had loaned him money, had basically written down the value of their investment in X, Twitter, down to something like by a quarter. So they were seeing that Twitter had gone from a $44 billion valuation down to something like a $10 billion valuation, $12 billion valuation. And so that's a problem. And so Musk then has this AI company called xAI. He starts arguing this thing that xAI is going to use Twitter's data stream in order to train it. So then he has xAI buy Twitter, X, for equity. And so now it's not that Twitter is worth either $44 billion or $10 billion. It's that xAI that owns Twitter is now worth $100 billion. Oh, it just makes your brain hurt when you start thinking about money and valuations and how Elon Musk is doing things. And what becomes even more interesting here, and how he's using these companies, is now it looks like SpaceX is going to be investing $2 billion into xAI. So SpaceX and xAI are private corporations, so they're not publicly traded. Basically what this means is that multiple people do own equity in these corporations, but it's less than 2,000 or 500 or something like that. And so they're not publicly traded. You cannot go to the stock market and buy shares in SpaceX or buy shares in xAI, but there are investors. And what becomes really weird with this, again, when you start thinking about things like valuation. So why is something valued the way it is, right? I went back in like 2013, 2012, 2013 with my autistic brain. I was dealing with money people world at that time. And it was weird. Like I was dealing with like old school blue chip money, and I was dealing with startup people money. And dude, it's all made up. Can we just be honest for a second? Can we just drop the snark for a second? Let me explain to you how these valuations are. It's all made up. It is all pulled out of people's asses. The value of a share of IBM, or the value of SpaceX, or the value of your house, or the value of Bitcoin, the value of any asset class is whatever somebody pulled out of their ass that day and has been able to argue better than anybody else. These valuations are just wonkadoodle, right? I'd sit there with VCs and startups trying to figure out the valuations for these companies. Why is this startup company valued at $3 million and this startup company valued at $10 million and this startup company valued at $50 million? Because that VC over there really needed to write a big check, and they couldn't write a big check for a $3 million company. They could write a big check for a $50 million company. Ergo, your company is now worth $50 million. And if you think I'm exaggerating, you don't understand reality. You just... That's the whole thing. All these people are out there. They're like all these pills, right? There's the blue pill and the red pill and the black pill. Motherfucker, put down the pills. Put down the pills and get in the world, because it's so much more stupid. So why this becomes interesting, right? So Twitter was having valuation problems. It got vacuumed up by xAI in order to seem like the valuation is maintained. Now, SpaceX is going to be directly investing into xAI on a $5 billion round. So SpaceX is putting, 40% of an entire round into xAI for this round. SpaceX is owned basically by Musk. xAI is basically run by Musk. God, this stuff's just looking ugly. This is just ugly. Just ugly. But anyways, so coming from Reuters, SpaceX has committed $2 billion to xAI as part of a $5 billion equity round, deepening the ties between the tech billionaire Elon Musk's ventures at his artificial intelligence startup races to compete with rival OpenAI. The investment follows xAI's merger with X, Twitter, and values the combined company at $113 billion, right? Why was Twitter worth $44 billion? Why was Twitter worth $10 billion? Why is xAI worth $113 billion? Here's why. All right? With the Grok chatbot now powering Starlink support and eyed for future integration into Tesla Optimus robots, the report added. In response to a post on X about whether Tesla could also invest in xAI, Elon Musk said on Sunday, quote, "It would be great, but subject to board and shareholder approval," without confirming or denying the journal report on SpaceX's investment plans on xAI. So, yeah. Now we have all of these companies being controlled by Elon Musk, now creating very tangled, incestuous financial relationships. How will this go at the end of the day? Who knows? As I've said, it depends on what people are valuing these companies off of. I don't understand it with Tesla. As I've said before, it's not that I think Tesla should not have value. I think it should be a valuable company. Why it has so much value is beyond me. But like when we hear about Tesla, you know, what do we hear about? Like at first we heard that it was a car company. It's not, it's electric car company. And then they got out of that and it was going to be an energy company. Remember when they bought Solar City? Hey, remember those solar roof tiles? Whatever happened to those solar roof tiles? Anyways, so they weren't a car company. They're going to be an energy company, except God knows what's actually happening with the solar stuff. And so then they're not really going to be an energy or a car company. Now they're going to be like a robot AI company. But then they're going to be buying the AI services, the brains from xAI. Like, at what point do the investors for Tesla just say this is too stupid? It is so incestuous. It is so glad-handing and patting each other on the back. It's literally difficult to understand where one company ends, where the other begins. Ergo, how do you understand theoretically where your value, where your equity ends? Right? Because think about this with Musk. Like, it was very interesting with Musk with this whole thing with Trump. So he's got into a kerfuffle with Trump, right? The big, beautiful bill that's going to add, $3.5 trillion to our deficit at the exact same time that eviscerates benefits to American citizens, right? Your life is going to get worse. The debt is going to get higher, but rich people are going to pay less taxes. Anyways, right? Elon Musk starts screaming at Trump about that. Trump goes back and forth. And then at one point, Elon Musk literally says, well, maybe I will decommission the Dragon Crew program. So the Dragon Crew program with SpaceX is what takes astronauts up to the International Space Station, which is a moment where it's like, oh, crap. I mean, even if theoretically you have that authority, you do not say that, right? To say that basically one single private individual in the United States has the ability to kneecap the entire space program for the U.S., that's a hell of a thing not to even say. If you have that power, shut up. Don't say it. Anyways. But what becomes interesting here is, like, when you look at Tesla, is that he's talked about that if he doesn't have 25% equity in Tesla, he doesn't understand why he's even there, right? Being worth $400 billion, come on now. He wants some real money. He wants to be real money. Anyways, so he said that. So he said, like, then he would go over to xAI. Then he'd just take his time and focus on xAI. There's a whole, but think about this though, right? You have somebody that literally threatened to destroy the astronaut program for the United States. If he goes over to xAI at the exact same time that Tesla is licensing AI from xAI, what is the possibility that he could get really pissy and cancel those licenses, right? That's where this kind of stuff gets ugly. And to be looking at like SpaceX now, right? So SpaceX is using $2 billion in order to massively support a $5 billion investment round in order to prop up the value of xAI to $113 billion. And this is all just this weird world that Musk has been creating. I don't know. I'll be curious to see how this winds up at the end of the day. Just seems like a mess. It seems like if there were any boards, to act as a check and balance on Elon Musk, they would be doing something at this point. But no, Elon Musk can do whatever the hell Elon Musk wants to do, apparently. Right up until Trump deports his ass. Oh, hey, Elon Musk. Yeah, what's it going to be like when you travel on a South African passport? You know what would be the real bitch for Elon Musk? It's not the billions of dollars. It's not SpaceX. It's not Tesla. Have that motherfucker travel on a South African passport? Yeah, see how much smaller the world gets in the blink of an eye. But anyways, I don't know. What do you think about this? What do you think about SpaceX investing $2 billion into xAI? What do you think about this with xAI buying Twitter, with Tesla licensing software from xAI from their things? Now you're having SpaceX putting money into xAI. Just, does this pass the sniff test? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. Or remember, at the end of the day, whether it's a thumb up, a thumb down, an awesome comment, or a horrible comment, it is all an interaction as far as YouTube is concerned. Also, do remember, silicondojo.com exists. We are doing fireside chats. I'm trying to do more and more of those. So if you want to go and join silicondojo.com, that is there. And with that, I'll see you all later.